few minutes about the Farm Bill. I think we'll have time for a couple of questions, and then I'll get out of your hair. You could go fine-tune that golf swing and play the golf outing. The wind blowing as hard as it is out there this morning, it's going to be an interesting round. So for those of you that play golf. No shortage of controversy on this round of the Farm Bill. We've done 300 hearings, 3 years worth of hearings. We've done 40 hearings. We've done 2 versions of it, a third version if you count the one that they attempted to do through the super committee. So no shortage of work that went into crafting at least the safety net rural development piece of the Farm Bill that we tried to do. Convention wisdom, which I subscribed to, was that you needed to keep the nutrition title and the Farm Bill per se together in order to gain enough votes in the House to get the bill passed. We've never had 218 Republicans vote for any Farm Bill, and so the head of the vote in late June, early July was that we needed to keep them together. So we went with conventional wisdom. We took it to the floor, and we failed. We got to 195, and we got 173 Republicans voted for it. 2 of those guys later backed off and changed their vote after the die was cast. But we got to 173, which quite frankly was a high watermark for Republicans. Colin Peterson, our ranking member, thought he had 40 votes to go with it, which would have got us 173 and 40, would have got us to 213. And the whip had a couple of guys who said, look, I'll be 218, but I don't want to be 219 or 20, and I certainly don't want to be 215 on the losing side of this deal, which those of you that know how that process works, those are real profiles of courage. When a guy says, if you've won, I'll jump on. But if you lose it, I'm going to stick you, anyway. So, had the 40 gotten there, 40 Democrats come on board, and I think we could have pushed it on the other 3 or 4 votes that we needed to get to a majority. It failed for a variety of reasons. 62 Republicans voted against it. Each of them had their own specific reason for doing it. 190 plus, 180 plus Democrats voted against it for their own various reasons. So then, how do you get the bill passed? Where do we go next? And we took the controversial step of splitting the nutrition title off and bringing just the Farm Bill piece itself. And I didn't think that was a good idea, but that old adage, if you keep doing the same thing over and over, you don't get a better or different result, then you need to do something different. And so we brought it by itself. The interesting thing on the floor last week, I was talking to one of the fellows who actually watched the debate last Thursday, and a week ago yesterday, is that the Dems wouldn't take yes for an answer. They were all mad about the work requirement that was put on, and how do you argue against telling folks if you're an able-bodied person and can work, that you ought to work as part of a prerequisite for getting help from the federal taxpayer. That's a policy issue that's really sound. And you look at the $20 billion in cuts that we put on there; those were sound policy decisions as well. They all said all day when we had them together that they didn't like either one of those. All right, I got that. So by stripping the nutrition title out, we took that out of the bill, which you would have thought would have meant, okay, then certainly those 40 that Colin Peterson thought he had would come along and vote for the bill. If you listened to the debate last week, they railed against the nutrition title, which was non-existent. It's a thing, there's a speech and debate clause attached to the Constitution, because there was a lot of lying going on the floor last week. The Dems misled the American people all day long. I had a friend that's couldn't vote any more differently than I do. He's a good fellow, we traveled together some. He made one of these guys are starving American children, and they're killing food stamps, and they're destroying food stamps, went up, 2-minute speech, and sat down. And I walked over and sat down beside him, and I said, hey, aren't you in the Ag Approach Committee or something? He said, yeah, sure. I said, so you know that everything you just said was wrong? Oh, no, it's not. I said, yeah. I said, food stamps are an appropriated title. And unless Congress takes a specific act to change something, nothing changes. It just keeps getting funded right on. September 30th, moving on. No, that's not right. I said, yes. Congress has taken a position that we will always have food stamps. And unless Congress makes a change to it, we'll just keep funding it the way it is, because we're always going to, no, that's right, you're wrong, that's wrong. No. So about 20 minutes later, he came up to me, and he kind of sidled up to me, and he's giving one of these kind of double look in the eye things, and he goes, I checked with our technical staff, and You're right on the policy, but you're wrong in the politics. Say it, come on, buddy. Anyway, so all of that railing that they did last Thursday should have been saved up for when we actually bring a nutrition title bill to the floor, which we will. Don't know if we'll get it done here in July. That conversation is going on right now. Frank Lucas is involved in it, and I'm involved in it with the leader and others. We're pitching some ideas that to try to figure out a way to pass a nutrition title. The unanswered question right now, or the unanswerable question right now, is what do you do at conference? The Senate bill is together. The House has decided we've gone a different path. We've now split them. I'm going to argue that we've crossed the Rubicon and those bridges have been burned. We're not going to put it back together. Because if we put it back together, what I will argue is that we've now decided to hold rural America and the safety net ransom or hostage until we get the food stamp fixes that we think are appropriate. And I don't believe that's right. We should not do that. And so that may be different than what some of the other folks are going to say, but as far as I'm concerned, once the decision was made to split it, and we did it, and we got it passed with 216 Republicans, by the way. We've never had a bill passed solely with Republican votes ever, and we did it. Credit to Kevin McCarthy and to the leadership and the whip teams and all those kind of things, and we were able to get to where we needed to get to. So putting it back together, I will argue against it, but I will be the sole decider on that. We'll have to see how that goes. But we'll have a nutrition title, and it will have reforms in it. It probably will have stronger reforms than what we had in the one that passed out of committee. They've got 13 Democrats to vote for. We'll assume, for this purposes, that we will not need any Democrat votes. And so this bill will be probably a stronger reform to the food stamp program than what was in the farm bill that came out of committee. And at that point in time, all that rhetoric from last Thursday, fast forward to the day that we bring that bill to the floor, and then they can say all those terrible things about Republicans, and it'll be closer to what they're going to do. One controversial piece in the bill that we did pass, and that's the 49 Act and the 38 Act backstop that we've traditionally used as a sort of Damocles to force the system to continue to update foreign policy. If you eliminate all the other considerations and everything about it and get it to its core decision, what you need to have to argue is that which is the better permanent law for rural America and the safety net? Is it the 49? Is it the 49 Act? Is that really in the best interest of rural America, or is it the bill that we think will pass and bring forward? I've got to argue that it's the current bill, and that one will be the permanent law if we prevail in the Senate. I'm hard pressed to argue with a straight face that it's in the best interest of foreign policy that we somehow have this reversion back to 1949. Now, I got the part that it helps us make sure we get a revision and get it done each time so that we move it over. But if you've made this one permanent and it's working well, then that's not the worst thing that particularly for Title I that has happened to the way we handle foreign policy. Again, as you guys say, not often enough, Americans enjoy the safest, most abundant food and fiber supply in the world, and oh, by the way, it's the cheapest. That only happens because of your hard work, your sweat equity, your risk-taking, and you and your bankers' reliance on the safety net that keeps you in the game. And if you look at what we've done with this one, we've done away with direct payments, eliminated counter-cyclical payments. We're now going to a program that looks more like a pure insurance plan, where if you've got a loss, you get help. If you don't have a loss, it's more assurance. And that's one of the reasons why we're able to get the rest of the Republican votes on board to get this thing passed. So this version, we'll see what we do when we get to the Senate. Frank Lucas will chair the conference committee, which means we'll have a bit of an advantage to have the final product of the conference report look more like the House version than the Senate version, but there's lots of negotiations going on. The top four, Frank and Debbie Stabenow and Thad Cochran and Colin have already met once and had the official talk by each other kind of conversation that you have to get things started. Staff is already working to see where we need to go on that. The big issue on conference was always going to be the nutrition title. Stabenow only wanted $4 billion in cuts. Our version showed 20. The version that we will pass that would marry up with that would be more than that. So I'm not sure what kind of middle ground that's going to be available with respect to the nutrition title itself. That was always going to be the toughest of the deal. We thought we could come with our Senate colleagues and come to conclusions on the safety net and rural development piece. It was going to be the nutrition piece that was got. President's issued a veto threat. That I'm a CPA, and I can try to be pretty logical for the most of it. That makes no sense, actually. If we strip the nutrition title out and nothing at all happens to nutrition, why would you veto the bill? Where is the, and it's not about the policy that's in the bill, because we're spending less money and we're doing all the kinds of things that the taxpayers need to have done to maintain what I believe is a strong safety net for production agriculture. We help with rural development. Where's the beef, Mr. President? You got what you wanted. You stabbed it out and wanted no changes to food stamps. And that's what all likelihood will happen because of the gap between her offering $4 billion and what we would bring through from the House later on this month or in early September. So I don't put a lot of stock in the threatened veto. If we passed just a farm bill only and had a separate work going forward with the nutrition program, I'm hard pressed to understand why the president would say, all right, basically he points a gun at a dog and said, you either take more cuts than food stamps or I shoot the dog. I mean, that makes no sense. They don't want cuts to food stamps. They don't believe it's appropriate, and I got that. But that's what they'll get if we pass this bill under two separate models. So his veto threat doesn't make a lot of sense. It is great to be with you. Keep up the good work, what you're doing. As I said, you need to pitch your story about the value of production agriculture to this country more than ever before. There are fewer members of Congress who represent rural districts. As Armin said, I represent a rural district. I got 3 big towns and a lot of territory. But there are fewer and fewer folks who represent us and you. And so you have to be much better at pitching your story about why this safety net is important on an ongoing basis and the great work that you do with respect to making sure that I don't miss any bills, because I hate missing bills. So, Armin, I think we got time for maybe 1 or 2 questions, and then we'll turn it over to the USDA.
If you got a question.